Hey, what's up, everybody? Today we're looking at The Meme Machine by Susan Blackmore. Susan Blackmore is a writer and lecturer. Her name is known in the skeptic community, and I really like her story, which in short says that she used to believe in the paranormal, and then she started applying critical skepticism to her beliefs, and now she doesn't believe in the paranormal. But that's not what this book is about. The word meme, as we've come to think of it today, is a little bit different from what it was when it was originally coined. It was first mentioned in Richard Dawkins' first book, the 1976 bestseller, The Selfish Gene. Originally, the word meme was like a parallel to the word gene, used to describe the units of cultural information instead of units of genetic information. The definition Susan Blackmore uses for this book is instructions for carrying out behavior stored in brains or other objects and passed by imitation. The New Oxford Dictionary defines meme, which is the Greek word from which meme was created, as an element of a culture that may be considered to be passed on by non genetic means, especially imitation. If genetic information is thought of as the primary replicator, then mimetic information is the second replicator to appear on the scene. This book looks at biological evolution and says that cultural evolution changes in much the same way through environment and selection pressures. In, in order for evolution to take place, three conditions must be present in the system: heritability, variation, and differential reproductive success. You have those three things, and evolution must occur. Blackmore argues that we see mimetic equivalents for those three factors. We can also look at three other factors that can even predict a meme's replication success: fidelity, fecundity, and longevity. Fidelity is how accurately the memes are reproduced, and of course, imperfect reproductions would be the equivalent of mutations in biological evolution. Fecundity is the ability to be reproduced in large numbers, and longevity is self explanatory. This mimetic theory of cultural evolution has met with plenty of criticism over the years, and the book does look at some of the problems with the theory. The biggest issue seems to be that this book contains a huge amount of speculation. Much of it makes a lot of sense, but much of it is not testable and unfalsifiable. And while it's a pretty good analogy, genetic change has a basis in the physical world, allowing us to take measurements and make predictions, while mimetics is more of an abstract idea. The analogy is not meant to be a one-to-one model of comparison with evolution by natural selection. At least I don't think it is, but Susan Blackmore does seem to take this idea quite seriously. I'd go as far as to say that she takes it more seriously than the idea's creator, Richard Dawkins, does. It seems to me Dawkins appreciates the idea's limitations and therefore treats it more as an interesting abstraction rather than a real explanation for cultural evolution. But I will say that this book has a lot of really interesting ideas in it. Blackmore covers the usual list of human elements: the origin of language, sex, religion, the human brain, altruism, and social behaviors, as well as many parallels with evolution by natural selection. There is some pretty interesting stuff in here about the mimetic equivalent of the primordial soup and how the human brain took off when we first began learning to imitate each other. And this agrees with what we heard in Ramachandran's book, The Telltale Brain, about the explosion of the mirror neuron systems in the brain and their critical role in human evolution. It also got me thinking about this really interesting idea called isopraxism that I read about in a body language book. It describes the way people will mirror or imitate your posture when they're jibing with you as you're having a conversation. That was a really cool idea to revisit and to read about in this context, even if it wasn't directly named in this book. So, in closing, I'll say the book was good, but for its reputation in the skeptic community, I was surprised at how much speculation it contained. People who like The Selfish Gene may enjoy this book, but if you haven't read The Selfish Gene, you can still read this as a standalone. Although, if you haven't read The Selfish Gene, I would encourage you to do so. Okay, that's it for this one, guys. Right now, I can't wait to get back to my current read, which is about ancient Native Americans, and right now they're talking about the Pleistocene-Holocene transition. So I'm going to get back to that. But yeah, if you'd like to know more about what memes really are, check out The Meme Machine by Susan Blackmore.